Okay.
Yeah.
Is the Bay News 9 guy going to be able to call in?
You're not going to. I don't think you're going to be able to do those segments.
I think you might be able to.
You can put 2 callers on.
Hold on.
Oh, why don't we just get on the air first?
Yeah, do that during a break.
Yeah.
Do I dare ask how this sounds?
Like a phone call.
Early. Just in my eyes. Oh. I'm going to need to talk to an engineer there and plug it into my Comrex here.
Yes.
Connect that way.
And we can still, even if you're on your Comrex, we can use this, not with the sound, just mute it so we can see one another, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this final Tuesday of August. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Well, technical issues
this morning. For whatever reason, my equipment's not working in Jacksonville.
So I don't know how long we're going to be a duo, to be honest with you. This morning, we have an unbelievable show lined up for you, too.
I'm excited. I was fired up for the show, got up early, got in early. We were all set and ready to go. And then, what is it your grandfather would say, David? Someone stepped on a coaxial cable, right? Is that the line you've used for many a years? That was your grandfather's. Well, they stepped on it, jumped on it, and were using the boot in that Tennessee-Georgia game, I think, on it.
Did the hobnob boot? Is that what just happened? I have to admit, I sort of feel that way. I mean, we have David Samson. We're going to have a chief meteorologist on the show, which, of course, is bad news in and of itself, but hopefully some good news overnight for most everyone in our listening audience along I-75 from the Georgia-Florida line all the way to Marco Island. Mike Clay from Bay News 9 will join us in a little more than an hour. We'll talk some Gators. They're leaving town early to avoid the storm. They're going to practice in Dallas later today. Edgar Thompson, I think, is going on the flight. He's going to talk to us before he gets on the plane. And if it's a Tuesday, that means both David Samson and Pat Kirwan. I mean, Tuesdays is voted the least favorite day of the week, but it's not on Miller and Moulton, I'll tell you that.
Never on Miller and Moulton. And I don't know why. You've talked about this before. I like to. Who likes Monday better than Tuesday?
Some people really like work. And I think the key word is favorite. Like very few people go, my favorite day is Tuesday. People may be far more negative towards Mondays than they are Tuesdays, but I think very few people are like, what's your favorite day of the week? Oh, Tuesday. I've never heard anybody say that.
Maybe if you're at a good classic rock market and you're of the right age, just because of the 2 for Tuesday, it was your favorite day growing up. But other than that, I can't see a reason why, David. A double shot of Loverboy on the other side.
I mean, maybe somebody like Felipe, who's working 2 jobs, and maybe like the one day he has off could be a Tuesday. So he would say, oh, my favorite day is Tuesday. I sleep all day. So anyway. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Sit-down day is in a little less than 10 hours. A lot of cuts made yesterday. Some more maneuvering going on. Some surprises. Tell you that. Tell me the Arizona Cardinals aren't tanking.
David, they trade for Joshua Dobbs.
Right.
Okay, whatever. You're going to get Joshua Dobbs. Murray's hurt. They're getting a backup. Okay. Then they cut Colt McCoy.
Right. Who had started the first 2 preseason games and had done the first team reps the whole training camp.
Right. Their other quarterback is what, a 5th round draft pick rookie?
Right.
That's what's on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
This, David, is how you tank. If you think back to when the Dolphins were supposedly tanking for Tua, their quarterback play, quite frankly, was too good to be tanking. It was not a full tank job. They left reputable players on that roster.
Right. They should have cut Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they should have traded for an unproven journeyman who they had some connection to. Which is like, oh, yeah, I had him recently. I liked him. Yeah, but he hasn't been here all training camp. That's all right. He'll learn the plays on the fly. Play looks similar.
I mean, it's tough to go out there and say, I'm going to take the Washington Commanders and lay 7. It really is, David, but that line's going to move.
There are a few lines that look low. I mean, the Jacksonville-Indianapolis line looks low, doesn't it? Isn't it like around 5?
4.5 I've got it at, yes.
What the heck? What are we missing here? When we last saw Jacksonville, they were playing the Chiefs in the second round of the playoffs to within a score on the road. The Colts are competing not to have the first pick of the draft. What are we missing? I know Jacksonville doesn't normally win in Indianapolis, but heck, these are barely the Colts.
It's barely an NFL team. They're starting a rookie quarterback who has but with the vast experience that Richardson has coming into the NFL, he's going to walk right in and be able to pick this all up easily.
By the way, Richardson had as many starts in college as who's that guy that the Niners just got rid of? Oh, yeah, Trey Lance. Right. The same number of college starts. Hope I will say I think he'll get more of a rope. I'll tell you that when Lance got. That is for sure. Yeah, I have an idea. If it's within an hour or 2 of the cut down deadline and Irsay's not willing to pull the trigger on the Jonathan Taylor deal, do you spice it up a little bit if you're the Dolphins? And you say, tell you what, we'll swap defensive tackles. I'll give you Christopher Wilkins and you give me DeForest Buckner. Now, Wilkins is 2 years younger. Buckner right now costs a little more money. Costs like $20 a year, where Wilkins, I think, is on the table for like 13 or 14. And the Dolphins reportedly have offered him 23, 24, and he said no. Buckner's under contract for 2 more years. Don't have to worry about it. At $20 a year, which will be cheaper than what Wilkins will cost next year.
And as we've pointed out, Miami is going to have some salary cap issues going into next year no matter what. We've talked about the players they're going to get rid of with X and Agba and to clear out some room, but that still doesn't do everything they're going to need, whether they sign Wilkins long-term or make the move that David's talking about. There still has to be some more roster flexibility done by Miami in 24 to get under the cap. So that's an interesting move, David. And do you think that the Colts actually want to trade Jonathan Taylor?
No, but there are a lot of people even around the situation who are like, I don't know that this will go well. Remember, new coach. Don't you think Steichen is saying to Irsay, listen, if we're not going to sign him and make this well, I don't need this. I mean, first year, getting a program started, I don't need this. So I think that if they're not going to resolve this and it doesn't seem as if they want to, I actually think there's push from within. Irsay may not want to because of pride and ego. But my guess is
the head coach is advocating, hey, let's move on. I don't need the distraction.
Speaking of distractions, lot was made yesterday throughout the day, the Trey Lance trade, that Dak Prescott was not privy to it before. Should he have been? For a third-string quarterback, is that really something you got to bring your starting hey, I'm trading for a third-string guy. And is that going to disrupt a quarterback room? Because some people out there think that this is really bad for Dak. I don't see it that way. I don't think Jerry owed Dak anything by bringing in a third-string quarterback. He's making a roster move. He's the GM. Are you kidding me?
I don't think he owed him anything. Would it have been courteous? Sure. What I think people are misconstruing here is that Dak and Will Grier have become friends. Will's been there a while. And Dak, I think, when he was asked about it, was also just genuinely bummed for Will. He didn't want to see Will go. I don't think Dak views Trey Lance as competition at all.
He shouldn't.
Right. So in that sense, I don't think Dak cares. But my guess is Dak, the person, did not want to see Will, his friend, get cut. And that's where I thought the initial, when Dak was kind of like, I've seen it all, blah, 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 and he was kind of dismissive. I think he was just personally bummed for the guy.
Yeah,
but I do think, quarterbacks are a little different, Mark. And which, we've seen it in other sports. When in the NBA, does the GM pull the star player aside and say, hey, just to give you a heads up, we're going to do this? They kind of cater to their ego a little bit, their significance. Since he was messing with the quarterback room, okay, could Jerry have said, hey, taking a flyer, all right, going to go get Trey Lance. All right. Obviously, it doesn't affect you or what have you, but, just going to take a flyer. Just wanted you to know before you hear it in about a half hour. Could have done it. I don't think it's a deal. I don't. I think this is the media making a mountain out of nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dak's only competition this year is Dak.
Correct.
Don't turn the ball over so much. Stay healthy, which is a little out of your control. But don't turn the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over, you're going to be a playoff team, and you're going to have a shot to play with the Eagles and win that division. But right now, I don't think, as anybody that's listening to the show knows, I'm not a huge Dak guy. I think, I'll take Kirk Cousins over Dak every single day. I think he's better. We'll see what Dak does this year. There's a lot of pressure on the Dallas Cowboys. There is every year, but I think even more so this year.
I think the Cowboy season is all dependent on their offensive line. It's thin, and they got a couple of old guys who have been banged up in recent years, and they're counting on them. If the Cowboys line can stay healthy, big if, Cowboys line stays healthy, that's one of the best teams in the NFC without question. That line gets banged up, Dak's probably going to get banged up. That ain't good.
And I don't know, how confident are you in their receiving core as well?
No, they got three receivers. I mean, do I wish, the number two is a little better than but they got Cooks and they got
and Gallup, fine, who's not been able to stay healthy as well. So
right, but I have to admit losing Dalton Schultz doesn't help, but they just need the offensive line to stay healthy. They'll score enough points. Defensively, they force turnovers. They're one of the few teams who can genuinely get after the passer. So, and they've won 12 games each of the last 2 years. I mean, they're a good team.
Miller and Moulton, terrific show lined up for you today. David Samson will join us. Mike Clay, the chief meteorologist with Bay News 9. Edgar Thompson to talk some Gators, and Pat Kirwan, plus the starting five, is 25 minutes away right here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and Tiki Bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. All right, I've got you on the phone. It's a good look.
Yes, now maybe.
No, I can hear you through the phone. Do you have the computer up, Felipe?
3,
2, 1.
2.
In and out.
Okay, but here's the thing. Why can't I hear you?
I don't know.
Right.
Here's what this is going to suck, but here's what we can do. Mute your phone. Now I lost you again. Now you're back. I can tell by the
3, 2, 3, 2, 1.
You're good. Now,
Okay. But I'm hearing nothing. 3, 2, 3, 2, 1.
I hear you perfectly.
Yeah, but I hear nothing.
Okay, David, mute your phone. Take your headsets off so you can hear me.
Talk to me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Checked. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test check. FIFA basketball. FIBA basketball. I like FIFA basketball better than FIBA basketball. Like, I think it could be something underneath the board. Because that humming sound made me very nervous. David? David? David. Here, no, just talk to me on the phone.
Hold on.
Okay. Got 2 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Oh my gosh.
Can you hear me still?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hey, look at that. Good job, David.
You always seem to solve it by the first time.
I say we run the 7 o'clock hour again. Because I actually don't think, first off, it's David Samson, and it's Mike Clay, and it's Edgar Thompson.
The only problem with Mike Clay is everything could change in 2 hours. That's my only real worry.
Can it really?
Yeah. I mean, it should be fine.
Do you have a banana?
I do.
I'm hungry again this morning.
Adam, I agree with you about, I wish they had added another weapon. Like if I was Dallas, I'd go get Mike Evans.
All right, 10 seconds.
God. Oh,
Everyone
Did not-
breathe.
did not need that.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Heck of a show lined up for you. David Samson, top of the hour. We'll have a chief meteorologist, Mike Clay from Bay News 9 in Tampa Bay. He will join us. Edgar Thompson, talk some Gators. They're leaving town today. Flying to Dallas. Going to stay in Dallas. Going to practice in Dallas. Stay overnight. Fly into Utah tomorrow. Play on Thursday.
Kent State, as of yesterday, hadn't changed their travel plans of how they were coming in and getting ready for the UCF game.
Right. Which I thought was being overly optimistic. Now, I will say, and you and I are not going to pretend to be what we're not. But supposedly the news overnight was good, that this thing is moving north and it even is tracking a little more west. So for most of the people that are listening to Miller and Moulton right now, the news is good, further away from the 239, further away from Tampa, St. Pete, even further away from Gainesville, Ocala. Looks as if Lake City's going to get some of this. It's just a matter of, direct, a side swipe. But supposedly overnight, a little more northernly tracked, a little more westernly, getting a little bit further away from the southern half of the state. And quite frankly, with what the southern half of the state went through last year, they could use a breather. Yeah. Not
Very
that
much
we
so, to say
not
the
that-
least.
Not that we want to wish this on anybody. Okay. But, there comes a time where certain communities in Florida look at others and go, time to take one for the team, man.
So I'm watching, because I cut the cord. So I'm watching the Weather Channel because it was the quickest thing to get to on YouTube TV that I saw.
Okay.
And the wife came home and she wanted to see what was going on. So we threw it on for a little bit. And because, of course, her phone was blowing up yesterday with what are our plans. You and I got a text from Seth, And I realized when you watch the Weather Channel just how overly dramatic they are. Our local weather people treat the listeners with the respect that us Floridians feel we deserve. They talk to us, not at us. The Weather Channel shouts at you. This is the end. It's all over. Nothing will ever be the same. Literally said, you can hope, but there's two kinds of hope. There's hoping that this thing will just dissipate, and then there's hope that your home will be there tomorrow. Excuse me?
I'm sorry. What? Wait, what?
Excuse me?
Is this War Games? What's going on?
Then I'm yelling at the television, getting all irritated. I yell at them more than I can yell at a football game, for crying out loud.
The part that annoys me just a little bit, and I understand it, especially since, having been in the business, even though it was forever ago. But I love when the Weather Channel goes to the pre-taped stuff about, being prepared for a hurricane. And there's those of us who live in Florida are like, okay, you're showing this for us. You do know we've been through this. Okay. And every local station in every local market has a hurricane guide. Okay. They send the meteorologist out into the community at the beginning of hurricane season. They do seminars. I mean, believe me, information we're not lacking. I mean, sometimes we're lacking plywood, water, but
the occasional C battery, yes.
Right. But generators, but information we are not lacking. But I appreciate you trying to, okay, you're right. No, we're good. We really are. How's the weather in Pensacola? Thanks. Appreciate it. So, but Mike Clay is going to talk to us like Floridians coming up in a little less than an hour. And he's just going to let us know, how do things look now? Today's the day. I mean, even though we've all, especially in Southwest Florida, we saw Charlie nearly 20 years ago make a very late turn. So, and just about everybody listening has experienced a hurricane in some way, shape, or form if you've lived in this state for any period of time. But it seems as if today's the day it's going to get out into the Gulf. It's going to pick up its steam. And so, okay. What direction are you thinking of going there, big fella? That's what today's going to be about. Mike Clay to tell us what it is the science is telling him, and therefore us, coming up in a little less than an hour. I will say, and this is selfish, I'm glad that the Gators are playing in Utah. I mean, they home and home. It just so happened to work out. Last year the game was in the Swamp, and this year the game's in Salt Lake. They're good. Get out of town. Have a good practice today, and then fly into Utah and play well. Good luck. I'm a little surprised how small the line is. I think it has to do with uncertainty with a couple of key Utah players, but the line's under 7. Teams don't go to Utah and win. I think they've lost one home game in the last 2 years. I mean, they're really good at home. And they're a top 15 team in the country. I mean, this is a tall ask for the Gators. And they're only from a team that's coming off back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons, and they're only a 6.5-point dog. I got to admit, that seems low to me. I thought this was going to be a 10-point spread. I really did.
We'll see if the Gators can bang with them, because Utah likes to play a very, very physical style. I want to see how they run the football. It's the best part of their team. And with the new rules, the shorter game, if you will, can the Gators keep it on the ground and try to keep this game within reach that way?
If what Napier is saying is what it is they are going to do, these new rules should help Florida this year. They're going to be a power running team. I think Billy can shorten some games. And before they make up the talent advantage that some other teams will have on them for at least one more year, that's a way to be a lot more competitive. Let's shorten the game. The other thing, Mark, which has to be said, I mean, Richardson had a very inconsistent, up and down, short-lived Florida Gators career. He was tremendous against Utah last year.
He was great. He really was.
Yeah.
I mean, Gator fan left that Utah game thinking they had the guy, and here we go.
And the other thing, though, to Florida's advantage is there's no way defensively you could be worse on third down this year than you were last year. I mean, the Gators defense could not get off the field last year. Like one of the 10 worst teams in the country out of 130 plus. I mean, they were horrendous. And you've got to think that this Florida defense is going to get a few more stops. The quarterback play really concerns me. I hope there's two guys that I have really badmouthed this offseason. Graham Mertz in college and Mekhi Becton in the NFL. I hope they both prove me so wrong.
We shall see. But it all stems from the power running game you talked about. How is this quarterback going to have an effective game? Run the football. That leads to what? Play action. I mean, get this kid a couple of simple throws, get him started, and you never know what can happen in this game.
And I do think you're going to start to see some more Napier recruits playing. I think he's going to play some freshmen and some redshirt freshmen. I do. I think he just believes these are the most talented guys I have at certain positions. I'm going to play them. The starting five is next. David Samson at the top of the hour. Where else but Miller and Moulton?
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I thought that was an emergency Diet Coke just for reasons like this.
God, wish I was allowed to bring him in the house.
Oh, you can't bring him in the house, huh?
Oh my goodness, would lose her mind.
So you just sneak those occasionally?
Totally.
What a world we live in when sneaking Diet Cokes is a big problem.
Yep.
Not sneaking a beer, not sneaking a shot, not going out back and ripping a 1-y, bringing a Diet Coke in the house.
And it's not even a Diet Coke. It's just a Pepsi Zero or a Coke Zero, right? And I'm even trying to play the game. What'd she say to me the other day? You know it's poison, right?
So play of the day 820,
Probably not,
or yeah,
because we're having Pat on for 2 segments. So
okay, that's fine. That's okay.
No, we might fit it in at 8:38.
All right. Who do you take at their prime, T.O. or Julio Jones?
T.O.
T.O.
Ocho Cinco or Julio Jones?
Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Even though Chad was really good. Borderline Hall of Famer. If his career didn't end the way it did, I actually think he'd be taken seriously as a Hall of Fame candidate. But it's going to be tough now as a wide receiver because everybody's numbers are going to be gaudy.
How many running backs right now do you think are Hall of Famers that are currently playing? Like Derrick Henry's a Hall of Famer.
If their career ended today or
Yeah.
projecting?
Or even projecting.
Saquon?
Right now he's on path, but no, he's not because he's been hurt.
No.
I mean, that's...
No, right now he's not.
If he has another year like he did.
No, he needs 3.
He needs to have 3 or 4.
Yeah, he needs 3 more years like last year.
I mean, this is, you know what I'm getting at here.
Josh Jacobs would need about 3 more years. Jonathan Taylor would need 3 more years.
And then you're comparing them to who?
You know, McCaffrey, I think, needs to probably help lead San Francisco to a championship and have at least 1 more big year. You know, I think Alvin Kamara needs a couple more big years.
Because if you're doing 5 years, you're comparing them to, the Gale Sayers and these are short runs.
Well, the Terrell, the guy who I don't think should be in is Terrell Davis.
No.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, David Samson joins us at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Great show lined up for you. Mike Clay from Bay News 9, their chief meteorologist, will join us next hour. Edgar Thompson, before he gets on a plane and goes with the Gators because they're leaving town a day early, he'll join us. Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour. We got to get right to it. Time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, let's start with the NFL, shall we? Cutdown day is today at 4. The Jonathan Taylor trade offer. Apparently it's down to, if reports are to be believed, Miami and Denver. And then it's whether or not Irsay and the Colts actually want to get rid of him. So we'll see. The thought is if it's going to happen, it's going to happen before 4. Arizona reached cutdown day by cutting their starting quarterback, Colt McCoy. He took first team reps all of training camp, was their starter in the first 2 preseason games. So recently acquired Joshua Dobbs is apparently going to be the starter for at least the first 4 games because Kyler Murray is going to start the year on the PUP list. The Browns got rid of Cade York. They traded the Chargers at 2 kickers in camp. They traded a future 7th rounder to bring in Dustin Hopkins as their new kicker. The Eagles signed, remember one of the Colts, Mark, who got suspended for gambling? Cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, and he's suspended for the whole year because he placed at least one bet on the Colts. Well, the Eagles signed him to a multi-year contract. Now, he doesn't get paid for this year, but if he gets reinstated, he'll be in 2024 training camp with the Eagles. That's interesting. And defensive end Derek Barnett was told he's going to make the team, but he's taking a look around and he's like, yeah, you got 4 other defensive ends ahead of me. How much playing time am I going to get? And they said, well, we didn't promise you playing time. We just promised you a roster spot. And so they gave him and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, permission to shop his services. And, well, the Eagles may be trading Derek Barnett later today. He was a 2017 first-round pick. He's only 27 years old. Houston cut their starting slot corner, Desmond King, been a starter the last 2 years. And he was a starter all of training camp. They also cut veteran linebacker Christian Kirksey. He was their captain last year. He was their Walter Payton Award nominee. He was 3rd on the team with 124 tackles. But, they save over $5 million, so sorry, buddy. College football, as we mentioned, Gators leaving Gainesville today. They'll fly to Dallas. They'll practice in Dallas. They'll stay in Dallas, and they'll fly to Salt Lake tomorrow. Jim Harbaugh. Mark, what did you think of what he had to say yesterday, which is slamming the status quo, and he wants college football players to, get revenue sharing?
It would simplify things now, wouldn't it? I mean, you gave him money that way. Does it eliminate NIL? But I think right now, Jim doesn't know what he's saying half the time.
I thought Jim was trying to change the subject. Also, by the way, Michigan offensive coordinator Sharon Moore is suspended by the school for the opener. So they're not going to have their head coach and their offensive coordinator for that big opener.
ECU, baby.
Yep, East Carolina. The ACC was going to meet last night to discuss expansion, but because of the school shooting in Chapel Hill, that meeting was canceled. The expectation is it will happen either today or tomorrow. Let's go baseball, shall we? Rays and Marlins were the only 2 teams off last night, so let's go with the games that impacted them. We'll start in the American League. Orioles shut out the White Sox 9-0. Baltimore's lead over the Rays is 2.5. The Twins beat the Guardians 10-6. Minnesota's lead in the Central's now 7. Seattle still on a roll. The Mariners have won 12 of 13. Julio Rodriguez is a young superstar. He is carrying this franchise. A homer and 3 RBIs again last night. Mariners 7-0 over the A's. Texas with 2 in the 9th got a much-needed win in New York against the Mets 4-3. Houston kept pace, bombing the Red Sox 13-5. Boston now 5.5 back for a wild card. Altuve with the cycle. First Astro to do that in over a decade. Altuve got his 2,000th hit last week. He's 33. Think he can get the 3,000? He's over a hit a game guy, but he's been missing about 30 games a year lately. But he's more than a hit per game guy. Just keep that in mind. Do the math. He'll probably be at about 2,050 hits at the end of this year. 5 more years, 150 hits a year. That's 2,800. It'll be close. I don't think so. I'd bet against it, but just throwing it out there. By the way, Toronto with a much-needed win over the Nats, 6-3. Toronto's 2.5 games behind both Houston and Texas for a wild card. Yankees, for what it's worth, got homers from Gleyber Torres and Aaron Judge back-to-back. 29th for Judge, 4-1 Yankees over Detroit. Trey Turner with 2 homers as that comeback story continues. 6-4 Phillies over the Angels. The Brewers are pulling away in the Central. They beat the Cubs 6-2. That's 9 wins in a row for Milwaukee. They now lead by 5. The Giants and the Reds were tied in the wild card chase until last night when the Giants beat the Reds 4-1. Arizona is still the 6th seed, but now it's just by a half a game over the Giants and a game and a half over the Reds. Arizona lost to the Dodgers 7-4. LA hit 4 homers last night. Scary scene in Colorado. Did you see the video?
Yeah, that is just bizarre.
So Ronald Acuna, I mean, he's a star, could win MVP. He had 4 hits last night and 5 RBIs, and 2 overzealous fans ran out onto the field. This is Coors Field, and Acuna's in right. And they ran out onto the field separately, and they wanted to, hug him, shake his hand, what have you. Those of us of a certain age, we think about Monica Seles, and they're just, you don't belong here. So they were eventually tackled, but Acuna actually got knocked to the ground between 2 security guards and 2 fans and him. He was actually, you'll see video, he'll be laying on the ground at the end of it. Pirates beat the Royals 5-0. We had a complete game last night, Mark. That's why I mentioned it. Johan Oviedo, 112 pitches in a 2-hitter. Padres beat the Cardinals 4-1. Blake Snell, 7 shutout innings as he is going to get paid this offseason. Golf, Zach Johnson's going to make his 6 Ryder Cup captain's picks at 3 o'clock today. There was a report yesterday, Mark, that said 5 of the 6 have already been made. And they're Koepka, Spieth, Morikawa, Fowler, and JT.
Golf World's going to have some fun if JT gets picked. I will say that, because that is a very controversial pick.
Well, but also Fowler over Keegan Bradley. Bradley finished ahead of him in the 11th to 13th. Bradley's won a major. Fowler hasn't. Bradley, his driving and putting stats are elite. Elite.
2 things that are really important in a Ryder Cup. You play an
Correct.
alternate shot, putting the ball in the fairway, and then, I think the object of the game is to put that little white ball in the hole, David.
And the word is apparently Bradley is going to be left off the team. They're talking about Sam Burns as the last guy. Apparently, he's really good friends with Scotty Scheffler. And, Mark, we're finding out that that's what it takes to get on this Ryder Cup team. See, Fowler and JT are going to be on it because they're tight with Spieth. And now Burns could get on it because he's tight with Scheffler. Hey, that's good. I'm glad. I mean, this will be good. You better win. Let me tell you something. You blankety blanks better win. Because the second guessing that can go on over this one, if those are the picks, is quite something. By the way, the final 3 picks to the Solheim Cup team were added yesterday. Allie Ewing, Cheyenne Knight, and Angel Yin. 4 Solheim Cup rookies for the U.S. who's lost the last 2 to Europe, by the way, and they're playing this one on the road, just like the men are. All right, the U.S. Open got underway yesterday, Mark.
Yes, it did.
There were 2 major upsets, one on the men's side. The 4th seed, Holger Rune, is out. Meanwhile, on the women's side, the 8th seed, Sakin, is out. Did you hear her story? She's cruising 4-1 in the first set, and she starts complaining about the smell. And she's saying,
the weed, right?
The
Yeah,
weed,
the
right.
weed.
She's claiming that there's weed outside the stadium somehow, and the wind's blowing it, and the smell is bothering her, and she proceeds to get beaten in straight sets, and she's blaming pot. Coco Gauff lost her first set, but rallied to win 6-4 in the third. Sloane Stephens was beaten 6-4 in the third. The top seed Swiatek won on the women's side. Also, 33-year-old Caroline Wozniacki's returned to major tournament tennis. She won her first round match 6-3, 6-2, so she advances to the second round. Djokovic's match started after 11 o'clock last night. After 11 o'clock last night. He won. 7th seed Tsitsipas won, and 10th seeded American Francis Tiafoe also a winner. Bills owner Terry Pegula made a little business arrangement yesterday. The Bills and the Sabres were both under the same company. He separated them yesterday. It's probably good news for the Sabres. Just saying. And USC head coach Andy Enfield spoke for the first time about Bronny James, and he said he's doing well. He's back on campus. He's in class. We're hoping he returns to the court soon, but we just have to be patient. LeBron and his family over the weekend revealed that he has a congenital heart condition. It can be fixed, and they expect him to play. But there's no doubt that the folks at USC saved his life. And that, at 10 minutes before the hour,
That was the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So we're getting a little separation in baseball. Now you got Milwaukee now leading by 5. You got the Twins leading by 7. You even got Toronto's 2.5 backable Texas and Houston for the final wild card.
Yeah, the National League wild card, that's still a hell of a race.
It is. You
got the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, and the Reds all within 2 games of one another. The Marlins are still only a game behind that, but they've got to leapfrog some teams right now. The Marlins, this little 2-gamer, they can't afford to lose a series the rest of the way if you're the Marlins.
Well, the Marlins at least have to split this 2-gamer at home with the Rays. There's no question. So the schedule doesn't get much easier for the Marlins. There's a couple of soft spots in their remaining schedule, but we said it when August started. The Marlins had a really difficult closing schedule. And so far,
closer's not able to get outs right now. It doesn't help with how difficult their closing schedule is.
No. And this is where you feel badly for the general manager because she's made 3 big deals at the deadline, and 2 of them have worked out with the hitters. And the biggest sure thing was actually getting the reliever, and the relievers let her and the team down. By the way, why does she not have a contract extension? I mean, I love the people who are talking about, well, if the Yankees move on from Cashman, they'll hire Jeter. I'm like, hire Kim Ang. She worked for the Yankees for over a decade, by the way. And her track record looks pretty darn good when she's been given, full control.
It's a hell of a lot better than what Jeter did when he was with the Marlins. Jeter's best move with the Marlins was hiring her.
Yes.
It really
Absolutely.
was.
Yeah.
And when he let her have control of the team, she's done a hell of a job.
Yes, she has. Can you believe the Marlins have a better record than the Yankees? Not that this has been a crazy baseball season or anything. But as the Rays said, enough talking about them. They're a last place team.
Exactly.
Can't be bothered. We're moving on. Mark, you were wondering why yesterday the headlines in New York were not that. It took them half a day. By yesterday afternoon, they had caught on to what Brandon Lowe had said.
Thank you. I mean, that's an editor yelling at some people. Why didn't we have that to start the day? That's a headline, and we're good at headlines.
Yeah, they were worried about the brouhaha and the hit by pitches, but by yesterday afternoon, they were like, wait a minute, what did those guys say about us? Yeah. Apparently, by the way, T-shirts have been made. You can purchase a Rays T-shirt that has that quote. We're not worried about them. They're a last place team.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'd be all over that. I may buy one of those.
That's a T-shirt I would wear.
Yep.
Right there. That's fantastic.
I got a couple of Yankees fans. I might even buy a couple of his Christmas gifts and send it to them.
I was thinking the exact same thing. One of them I kind of work for. Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up for you. Mike Clay, Edgar Thompson, and Pat Kirwan. But next is David Samson right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Whoa.
Well, RCB none of the last 6 years.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. How are you?
I am great. So I've got to tell you, Saturday morning, I got up in the morning, threw my television on and my DirecTV. I knew my subscription was running out. I didn't know the day. So it ran out that day. I'm like, all right, I've got to get YouTube TV. Football season's coming up. So I get my account. I get 4 free months of Max by signing up for Sunday Ticket. And I look to see what's on Max. The first movie, and I'm not joking, was War of the Roses. It was late in the movie. I watched about the last 15 minutes and DeVito smoking on the cigarette, telling the story. I almost texted you. I just sat there in my chair and laughed for 5 minutes that movie was on.
That's pretty unreal. And of course, you could always text me because you could have said, "Hey, it's on," because I would have turned it on immediately. Do you have a hurricane coming your way or no?
Looks like it's going to go north.
Okay, good. Oh, is that where you are, David?
I'm in Jacksonville. It looks like we could get sideswiped. It looked yesterday like we were going to get more of a direct hit, but what they're saying today is this, may go really far north and then almost directly into Georgia.
I just love having a guy on that lived in Florida and asked the question that way, as opposed to everybody else in my family who texts me and go, "What are you going to do? Are you going to be okay?"
I could give a shit. I'm so over hurricanes. I can't even tell you. After all those hurricanes in 04, 05, we got a generator and never lost power again.
It's the way it goes.
No doubt. No doubt.
15 seconds.
Ooh.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And our terrific Tuesday lineup begins with David Samson. He of the daily podcast, Nothing Personal with David Samson. He records it live at 8 a.m. every day. He makes weekly appearances on the Dan Le Batard Show. He also makes regular appearances on CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter at David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. I moved my last child into college for the second to last time yesterday.
Okay.
To last time.
He's a junior.
So that means the payments are close to running out.
It's unreal. I've had kids in college for 6 years, and it'll be a total of 8 years because it's 8 years from the oldest to the youngest. And move-in day is so stressful. Everybody's fighting, and I'm divorced. So what's there to fight about anymore? But still, there's tension, there's fighting, you're sweating. It's a nightmare. But I'm back.
It's like you need what Trey Turner got about a month ago. You need a big, rousing sound of applause. Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, he is now crushing the ball. The numbers are off the charts since the Philly media said we have to embrace this guy and help him out. I don't know of a story quite like this, David.
So two things have happened recently that shocked me. One is the Trey Turner situation, because Philly fans are not very loving. In my experience, they're even worse than Boston in terms of their vitriol. So them embracing Trey was amazing. And then Met fans booing the Scherzer video last night. I'd never seen that ever, when a returning player, where the in-game entertainment and ownership and front office were so out of touch that they did a welcome back video and the fans booed it. So that's two things I never saw before.
Really? About the Scherzer? You got to now hold on. First off, he only made 20 home starts for him, so it's not like there's this great emotional attachment. But in all honesty, David, he had two huge starts for the Mets late in the year in Atlanta last year. He was terrible, and the playoff game, he threw batting practice. Mets fans are like, "Dude, you did not deliver for us."
The thing about welcome back videos, and we would have these conversations in our front office, you got to time them right. He just got traded a month ago. It's way too soon, especially when their team is behind the Nationals. Mets fans are despondent, and you have to recognize in New York yesterday, all those fans sat in U.S. Open traffic. So they were grumpy to begin with.
That's a good
so
point.
It makes zero sense what they did.
He's David Samson. Follow him on X at David P. Samson. David, the letter P. Samson. By the way, thought of you and quite a few others. The passing of Bob Barker. Just curious. All right, in Major League Baseball front offices, how much game shows and soap operas were taken in?
So no soap operas and no game shows. We actually would watch baseball games. How boring is that? And when baseball games were not on in the morning, we would have the Weather Channel on when we were a pro player, trying to see if we're gonna not have BP. And then once we got into Marlins Park, we would watch different things in the morning. I used to, though, watch Bob Barker on Price is Right because my mother would not allow me to watch TV, and except for Saturday mornings. But what I would do is I would sneak in Price is Right when I was sick because it was on back when I was growing up. It was on like 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't know when it's on now with Drew Carey. And I watched it all through college. The minute I was gone from home, I watched it every single day.
And as many have pointed out on X and even in our Twitch chat room, Bob got as close to 100 or $1 as he could without going over.
It's so great. Good for him. He had a great run. There's no doubt about it. And I'm thankful for him. He entertained a lot of people. That Gene Rayburn mic that he used was just a classic.
And I'm glad you made the reference to the owner of that microphone, Gene Rayburn, in the match game where they were drunk on the show. By the time the Friday show came, that whole cast was completely obliviated.
People don't realize they filmed it all at once. That's how these game shows do it. Even to this day, they'll film 5 in a day. So Jeopardy, if someone wins, you're filming a bunch of them in a row. So it's really hard, actually. But yes, match game, by Friday's show, that's the last show of the day. They're hammered. Absolutely. Britt Eklund.
Brett Summers, Charles Nelson Riley. All right.
No, don't get us started with that match game.
The Acuna situation yesterday, is this security with Major League Baseball? You know, there are many great things about baseball, and the fans and the players can sign autographs. And, you know, Mark and I have allocated that, you know, there should be fans let in earlier for BP and what have you. The ballpark is fun. But then there's 2 fans running out on the field trying to hug Ronald Acuna. And those of us of a certain age think about Monica Seles, and we're like, this ain't a laughing matter here.
Well, not just Monica Seles. I also think about Hank Aaron rounding the bases and Craig Sager running, you know, the great late Craig Sager ran on the field that day. I think about Yankee games when they would clinch, and I picture Chris Chambliss and Reggie Jackson knocking people down to get to the dugout. And baseball is very clear about this. You need to secure your field. And I led the show yesterday talking about what happened with the White Sox and the shooting. And I'm leading today's show with another security breach and how dangerous it is. Acuna was knocked to the ground. And he didn't get hurt, but I was thinking with my president's hat that there's not enough discretionary fund money that the commissioner could pay our team if we lost a player because of that. And I would blame my operations department and have to take part of the blame myself, if not all of it. But it is inexcusable.
Inexcusable? I mean, fans run on the field all the time in all sports. And I don't know how much more security, unless you're going to basically have security standing every 5 feet along the sides. I mean, what can you do, David? It's tough to have that line between a great fan experience and making sure something like this never happens.
I don't mind when I go to concerts and they're lining the front of the stage. I get it. I understand why they do that. And for baseball, when you design your ballpark, you actually work with Major League Baseball and the union, and you look at points of entry onto the field, and you have to make sure those are all secure. If there's a fan who wants to jump down a wall, I grant you, from the first row in the outfield, there's nothing we can do. If a drunk fan, and we saw a video of that very recently.
Yeah, the guy that proposed at the Dodger game, I believe.
There was that, and then even another one, a guy who jumped over the outfield wall. Those are hard to stop. And we train our guys, but not well enough, but they're trained when someone approaches the field, what you do. From the players, we tell them, if someone's coming towards you, you must back away. Don't stand your ground, because some of the players want to get involved. Some of them aren't that nervous. Some of them feel like they're bigger. But what we say to them is, you're not football. In football, when someone goes on the field, I'm not worried, because the football players are padded and helmeted, and they've got full permission to crush the fan who comes on the field. Baseball players are not padded that way. So we tell our players to run away. And Acuna stayed put, and that was a mistake. But the bigger, obviously, blame is on security and what happened in Colorado.
How many security work a baseball game? Do you have 50 security members working a baseball game?
No, more than that. So it's based on attendance. What you do is you do every homestand, you submit to your baseball, the stadium operations department, your concessionaire, what your expected attendance is, not what you're going to announce because you make that up that day, the actual number of people who are going to be in the ballpark. And so you know how to estimate that, and you know where they're sitting. And so what you do is you put a security guard, but you try to save money, but you put a security guard roughly in every section. But it's not nearly enough. And we have to alert also the off-duty police who are in the ballpark because we want as few as possible if we're not going to have a big crowd because they're getting paid. So there is budget involved, and that is where baseball needs to step in. And I think there needs to be central security at each ballpark.
Will they get it? I mean, there's one thing for you thinking it, but that costs money, and, well, owners aren't really that into spending more money on things like security.
Here's the problem. I, as the Marlins, would vote no for that because I don't want to pay 1/30th of the Yankees security when they draw 40,000 and I draw 5. So I don't want to split that. And anything baseball does centrally is split 30 ways.
It's funny how it all seems to come back to the Yankees. He's David Samson. Your thoughts, by the way, the Orioles. All right. Their young pitching took a big hit, and they've got a half a dozen other pitchers who are seemingly at innings limits. Your gut feeling, if you're the president of the Orioles, you think you're going to be able to hold off the Rays here?
Well, the Rays have 10 guys on Tommy John. Their entire pitching staff is gone as well.
But all the guys they have can apparently pitch for as long as possible. Like the Orioles are managing innings while trying to win the pennant.
So what we did in with young players in 03, and I expect the Orioles will do it, though don't pay attention to John Angelos. What I think that they will do is you limit them now and then let them go over the limit in October. And the reason why we do that is you may only have one chance. People are saying the Orioles are ahead of schedule. Forget it. This is their schedule. They have a chance to win it this year, to win the pennant. So we would let our young pitchers go because the odds are we're not going to sign most of them as free agents. So if we waste their bullets and they end up getting hurt, we have a chance at postseason revenue in a ring, and that's a chance that we'd be willing to take.
Do you think, at the end of the day, though, do you think the Orioles win that division?
Yes, I do. And I think that they're going to be interesting in the playoffs. Losing Batista hurts, but remember, bullpens in the postseason are very different than bullpens in the regular season. You move starting pitching into the bullpen, so your closer may be totally different. They can move Cano to the closer right now. But I think Baltimore is a very interesting team because they're young and dumb, right? They've never been to the playoffs. They don't know the pressure. It's how we felt in 03 going into Yankee Stadium. We weren't overwhelmed by the ghost of Yankee Stadium. We were just young and didn't care. And I see a lot of the Orioles in that.
30 seconds. It looks like the Fenway Sports Group's taken over the network for in Pittsburgh. It looks like the Astros and Rockets are about to take over the regional cable in Houston. Is this going to be good or bad?
It's a distressed purchase. What Fenway Sports Group is they're just seeing an opportunity to get an asset. They don't exactly know what will become of it, but I understand what they do. They do that around the world. So we are not at the end of this TV landscape change and consolidation. We're just at the beginning.
He's David Samson. In 47 minutes, he will record his daily Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast. You can find it at the usual places. Follow David on X at David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. Be well, my friend.
See you next week.
David Samson, kind enough to join us. Mike Clay from Bay News 9, their chief meteorologist. He will join us next. We'll get an update on Idalia on Miller and Moulton.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So, David, what did you do to get to be able to hear again?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I had powered down, powered back. I had unplugged everything. I have no idea if something was loose and got tightened, but I honestly thought I had done every single connection required multiple times. If I had to speculate, I think it has something to do with this, because if you think about it, nothing associated with the headset was working.
Right.
Okay. I knew the box was working because when I went into the side mic, I could see sound going in. And also there was a time when I was hitting this and sound was going in. So I'm wondering if somehow, some way, this was loosened. Something with the headset. Because remember when we got sound, we were getting it from the stick mic, but I still couldn't hear you.
Right.
So sound was going into my box. I could see it.
Yeah, but the other one, there's something, I don't know. All right.
So I think if I had to, I'm going to say it had something to do with the headset. Which I will say, if this was loose, it would affect it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I have honestly no idea. It's not like it fell out or,
Right. Look at you going X.
Yeah, I hate it. Edgar's got 10 to 12 minutes, by the way.
Okay.
I think Edgar's like
at the airport.
Well, or getting on the bus going to the airport, or yeah, because I'm pretty sure he's traveling with them.
Panthers picked up the Chiefs returner for a swap of 7th rounders.
I'm expecting Edwards-Helaire to be cut. That surprises me. I actually thought not only was he a good player, but I thought that was a great situation for him.
Right.
And I watched him on a Monday night in Buffalo run for 150 yards. I don't get it. I'll bet you Burrow's going to probably say something to the Cincinnati folks and go, that wouldn't be a bad RB2 right there. I know, got some experience with him.
David, you have Mike's number?
No, he's calling you.
Okay. Ten seconds.
Just keep an eye on the phone.
I will.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Edgar Thompson, he covers the Gators for the Orlando Sentinel. He will join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. Thanks so much for being with us. A lot going on. 2 days away to the Gators in Utah. UCF playing their first ever game with the Big 12 patch on their jersey. And then we head into a Labor Day weekend full of college football. Although, as you mentioned, Mark, yesterday, there are not a lot of great games.
Thursday's great because you get Florida, Utah, and if you're in, Nebraska and Minnesota, new coach in Nebraska and all that kind of stuff. Friday night, not much to speak of, really at all. The Canes play Miami. But yeah, Saturday, it's not a great slate. It really is not.
You got the headliner Sunday.
Exactly.
And you got LSU and Florida State in Orlando. And that is the headliner of Labor Day weekend. Mike Clay is kind enough to join us. He is the chief meteorologist for Spectrum's Bay News 9. Mike, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Good night's sleep for me, so that'll help out later today.
You are on a network right now that has stations from Marco Island to the Florida-Georgia line along I-75. So if you could take us south to north, if you will, along I-75, has it been a good last 8 to 12 hours?
For south, yes. South up into Tampa Bay, yes, because the models are in much better agreement. For north, not so much. But for Tampa Bay southward, there'll be just tropical storm force gust, maybe a couple of tornadoes spinning up later today. There'll be some surge on the coast, but it won't be anything we can't handle. And then when you start getting north and up towards the Nature Coast and up towards the Panhandle, it's a different story.
All right. With the models all in line, so the odds of this changing aren't very great right now. Why? And I say that because we all remember in Southwest Florida, Charlie was a storm that was heading towards Tampa. And made a late turn and went to Port Charlotte. So is there anything out there that makes you think this storm could still move?
No, there isn't. There's a strong high pressure over South Florida, and that should continue to push it to the north. And then about the time it starts to move due north, that high is going to go away. And a low pressure is going to replace it from the west. And that low should start to turn it more northeast. And that puts, the under the gun there on the Nature Coast and the Big Bend area. And that area is so vulnerable to storm surge. So that's going to be our main focus for the rest of the day.
Yesterday at this time, Mike, it looked as if, and obviously they're not along the coast, so they wouldn't get the immediate direct hit, but it looked as if this storm was going to kind of go right through Gainesville and head on a diagonal path to Jacksonville. Right now, where are the models saying that the center of the storm is going to hit in Florida?
Probably north of Cedar Key. And that would bring rough conditions up towards the Gainesville area and maybe up into southern Georgia. The good news is, the bad news, it's probably going to be a Category 3 when it gets up that way. The good news is when we examined the models very, very carefully yesterday, it looks like the highest winds are right on the coast. And then the winds drop off. Now, there's still going to be an eye wall, and it's going to keep going. If it misses you or hits you, you could still get some damaging winds pretty far inland. But other than that, it looks like the winds on the coast are within a few miles inland, and then they really drop off significantly. So if you're in Ocala, Gainesville, that's good news for you. If it goes in and it misses you, if the eye wall misses you, then you're going to get tropical storm force winds. You're going to get some trees down, some power outages, that sort of thing. But what we don't want to see happen is what we had with Michael, where it's just devastating wind damage far inland. It looks like the highest winds are going to stay right on the shore. I was looking at it yesterday, and even in eastern Citrus County, the winds didn't get that high. They were mainly right on the coast.
Mike, hopefully we can check in tomorrow at this time, and the news, especially for those in the 239, Port Charlotte, Venice, Sarasota, Tampa Bay, that the news stays this good. To our listeners in Lake City, it looks as if things could get rough. Mike, thanks so much for your time and your insight. Can we do this again tomorrow?
You bet.
Mike Clay, Chief Meteorologist, Spectrum's Bay News 9 in Tampa Bay. And so a little more northernly and a little more westernly, apparently, in the last 8 to 12 hours.
Which also, from a sports standpoint, the UCF Kent State game going to be out of the, looks as if that's going to be out of the storm's path as well. And I'm not trying to lighten what's going on at all,
right.
But we do a sports show.
Correct. And really, it's just a matter of, can Kent State get to Orlando? Now, Wednesday is when the storm's supposed to hit, but in theory, they can fly around it.
37's the number in that game, by the way. 37 UCF is favored by.
Wow. That's big.
That's a monster number.
That's very big. UCF feeling good about themselves, though. They got a returning quarterback, John Reese Plumlee there. Gus is he's talking the talk. He's feeling it. I am curious how they're going to do first year in the Big 12. Can they be, they've got one really tough non-conference game. It's what? At Boise?
Yes.
So if they go 2-1 non-conference, they have to go at least 4-5 in conference to be bowl eligible. I know the occasional 5-7 team makes a bowl, but please. So can they even go 4-5 their first year in the Big 12?
No Texas on the schedule, but they travel to Oklahoma. They travel to Cincinnati. Texas Tech, Kansas, and Kansas State are the other road games. Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Houston all coming to Orlando for UCF.
So they avoid Texas, but they also avoid Texas Tech, right?
No, they play at Texas Tech.
Oh, okay, because Texas Tech is actually a sleeper Big 12 champion pick. People have circled Texas Tech as like, if we're going to have a TCU this year, it could be Texas Tech.
Did you see what your mark said at the got to get this right here. It was the red Raider rally or something like that. But it was one of those events for the Texas Tech folks.
Yeah.
And the speaker was Big 12 Commissioner Brent Yormark. And he told Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire to take care of business against Texas when they meet on Thanksgiving. He said, I'm going to be in Austin on Thanksgiving, and you better take care of business like you did right here in Lubbock last year. Now, what I find fascinating about it is that, according to Texas coach Steve Sarkisian, is that a day before that, Sarkisian got a memo from Yormark talking about sportsmanship.
Well, it's because Texas is big on the whole, horns down thing. They really hate when people do that. Yeah. Get used to 9 games of that in conference this year. Let me tell you. But see, that's college football. That's what makes college football. When you got even conference commissioners to schools that are leaving going, you suck. I'm rooting against you. Make sure you guys behave.
Texas embrace the hate is their motto for this year. Embrace the hate in Texas. And they're going to be pretty salty as well.
When was the last time Texas won the Big 12? 2009.
The next time they're going to win it? 2023.
So you'll take Texas and I can have the field?
Done.
I'll take the field.
Love it. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk Gators next. Edgar Thompson coming up right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That gal that Coco Gauff beat was not very happy with the way the crowd treated her, David.
Well, Coco Gauff and the crowd were...
Yeah, she was a human rain delay, apparently.
Yes, and Coco Gauff, I guess, early third set, finally went to the chair umpire and said, listen.
Yeah, I read it too. Went after him pretty good from the looks of it. But she then complained after that she had, was disrespected and they played that match. And
there was also a moment where there was like a short break where you weren't allowed to sit down. She was standing up eating a bowl of fruit and her opponent was sitting down. She said, she's not supposed to sit down, right? And then the judge told her to stand up.
So who was sitting, Coco or the other one?
No, the other one. And Coco said she's not allowed to sit down, by the way. So I think the judge was terrible.
I'll bet that was a very nice handshake at the end of the match.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Coco gave that girl hell.
Well, and apparently too, they weren't long. Coco Gauff's like, these aren't long points. And Patrick McEnroe apparently agreed with everything Coco Gauff said, for what it's worth. I'll tell you what, though, Michael, last year with everything that happened at the other news station, they won. They're staying on top.
They're really good.
I got to tell you, the news in Fort Myers is better than the news in Jacksonville in terms of the talent. I know Jacksonville's a bigger market, but
The talent at NBC2 represents the Latin community very well as well. Only thing I hate is that there's multiple Sarahs, multiple Sams. So it's very confusing. Multiple Ryans. Sarah who? Sam who?
All right, make sure we've got our guests to start the segment because we've only got 12 minutes with them.
Yeah. He's on hold. We're back in 5 seconds.
Okay.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Edgar Thompson is kind enough to not only fit us into a schedule which is compressed because he's got to head to Dallas a day early instead of going to Utah. Edgar, thanks for making time for us. How are you?
I wish I was going to Dallas a day early. A lot easier trip going with the team.
Edgar covers the Gators for the Orlando Sentinel. You can follow him on X at OS Gators. OS Gators.
All right, Edgar, how tough is this Florida team? I know they wanted to get more physical. Utah is a very physical team. How much tougher is the Florida team this year than last year?
Well, we're going to find out how mentally tough they are because I'm telling you, Scott Strickland, in his efforts to improve the schedule, has really put them in the crosshairs opening the season. I mean, this is a team with 4 dozen plus new players, new quarterbacks with a lot to prove, new defensive coordinator, some other new assistants, and going 2,200 miles, I believe it is, cross country, playing at altitude, which I know everyone wants to. Some want to make a big deal of it. Others want to act like it's nothing. I think it probably could factor in a few snaps with some of your big uglies potentially. But guys, if you're 360 pounds, 10% less oxygen roughly will be about what it is. Might play a role at some point. We'll see. But, it's a big ask. Number 14, Utah, hadn't lost there since the 2020 season at USC. So undefeated the last 2 years at home. Utah's got its own problems with Cam Rising, the quarterback potentially being out. But, yeah, Florida's mental toughness can be challenged. But in terms of toughness, physicality, team certainly looks more like an SEC team this year than it did last year in terms of the defensive front in particular.
Let's start with the offensive line. It was, I guess, the strength of the team last year, and they have 4 new starters this year, yet there seems to be the thought that this group could be as good or better. Do you agree?
Well, Cyrus Torrance, the right guard last year, first-team All-American, so you're not going to upgrade there. Micah Mizuka, the Baylor transfer guard, injured, arrived, I think, with a shoulder injury. It wasn't the injury of shoulder in the spring. It more emerged. And he needed surgery and is coming back the last few weeks. He seems fine. They moved him to the right side, in fact, from the left, which is where you're going to be run dominant with the right-hand quarterback. So I think they must be feeling pretty good about him. And then he's lining up against another transfer, right tackle, Davian George, 6'6", 361, I believe, is what he's listed at. Massive guy, Alabama transfer, where he was really primarily a backup, 3 starts. So, but a backup at Alabama is probably an upgrade at Florida at this point in the program's trajectory. And he replaces Michael Tarquin, who was hurt a bit last year. And then Austin Barber, who replaced him, was very good as a redshirt freshman, flipped to the left side to replace Richard Garage, who started like 40-some games on the left side and was pretty good player. I don't want to say serviceable. He's a little better than that, but he wasn't like great. He wasn't drafted, but he did play a lot of football. Austin Barber, I think, is an upgrade. Damian George, size-wise, upgrade on Tarquin. Tarquin's only got 302. And Mizuka's probably a downgrade. Big question on offensive line, but he's good. On 19 starts at Baylor, will be the road grader type guy. The big question, Kingsley Abuquin, the center, is nursing some sort of an injury. We don't even know if he'll be available. And if you watched or read about the spring game, there's a lot of bad snaps in that game because Kingsley sat out. So this puts a guy who's never played, Jake Slaughter, potentially out there, redshirt sophomore, who wasn't really highly recruited, but they seem very high on him. The left guard is Richie Leonard, the fourth, a little bit undersized, but real scrappy, played a good bit last year, and I think they're pretty happy with him. So that's the breakdown. I'm sure your listeners, can't go through it again. Don't get a quiz after this one.
Well, and the guy they're blocking for, Mertz, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, he comes from Wisconsin. There's been a lot of talk that he's looked really good in the preseason. The spring game didn't, not so much. So how much has he progressed, and what do you think about Mertz this year?
Well, last night I said, what have you tried to improve in the last 18 months? I mean, he's just like, oh my God, a lot of things. And he just went down the list, which is what they typically say. But then I said, well, look, your accuracy at Wisconsin was okay, 59-ish, but it wasn't, in this day and age, 59 is not great. I mean, more 62 is probably about average, right? And he's, I didn't say all that, but I said, yeah, okay, but was it reflective of of your ability to, deliver the ball accurately. And he said he takes very much pride in his accuracy. You're hearing he's accurate in practice. We were at one open practice. I thought he was a teeny bit late on a few throws. And just behind guys, just a teeny bit. So we'll see. That's the key, because they're going to throw a lot of short and intermediate passes. There's going to be some dinking and donking. They're going to throw to running back. They did lose Cam Carroll, the two-lane transfer. He's a very good receiver out of the backfield, and that was a blow there. But they do have two very good running backs, Montreal Johnson, Trevor Etienne. Both have really worked hard on their pass receiving skills. Trevor's certainly that Travis, the Clemson star, who's now at the Jags, out of the backfield. He was an incredible receiver for Clemson. But if he's even half as good as that, they might have a threat. And Ricky Pearsall is going to, stretch the field a bit, but he also work underneath a lot. And, they got this kid, Eugene Wilson, who's down there from the Tampa area. He's going to be a slot guy who is earning rave reviews. Eugene Wilson, former NFL safety, Super Bowl champion. His kid, highly recruited. He has an extra gear and real quick kid. There are a lot of others, but those are a couple right there to watch. I'm intrigued. They don't have a tight end that's improving, and that's a concern of Billy. And he stated it even as a concern. And Billy doesn't usually go there much, but he likes 12 personnel, likes his tight ends, and they got a lot of guys with a lot to prove there. But Tony Livingston, the freshman, Tampa kid too, 6'5", 250, and he's lost like 25 pounds. Former basketball player, real skilled athlete. He's one of the two starters on their two deep. They have two starting tight ends, and they're real high on him and his upside, but he's never started a game.
Edgar Thompson covers the Gators for the Orlando Sentinel. Follow him on Twitter or X at OS Gators. All right, defensively, is it a matter of there's no way they could be worse than last year? Because they were as bad as you could be on third downs last year. I mean, how much better is the personnel, or is it just going to be scheme that improves this team?
Well, that's the place you start. They need to be better than last year. There's no doubt. And I can't imagine they won't. You're going to upgrade interiorly. I think Jerron Dexter, obviously high ceiling. He was drafted in the 50s by the Chicago Bears. A little higher than I thought he might, but the kid was 6'6", 318. I mean, he ran like a 4.9 at the combine and was a really good athlete. In fact, he was a former basketball player who a lot of people, when he was a little kid, was just a dominant player down in that Lake Wales area. In fact, Walter Clayton Jr., who's transferred from Iona to the Gators this year, really good player for Iona, and Rick Pitino said Dexter's the best basketball player in the area. They grew up together. So that's interesting. He's gone, but he's all they had last year in there. This year, they got Cam Jackson, Memphis transfer. They have Chris McClellan, year older, really flashed last year at about 305. Now he's 315 and really looks solid. However, he's questionable for this game, which isn't good. Caleb Banks, the Louisville transfer, looks the part. 38 snaps, I think, at Louisville is it, though. And behind them, you got Mount Watson, Des Watson. And he is, a big boy. I mean, he's 439, I think he's listed at. He needs to slim down. I don't know where all that is. I mean, he's a guy, when we fluctuate, it's probably 5 pounds. When he fluctuates, it could be 25 pounds. But this young man is extremely agile, incredibly powerful. And if you can get some good snaps out of him and improve his lateral quickness just a bit, you got a potential. I mean, this guy could play in the NFL one day if he could just get his weight down to maybe even Gilbert Brown level, if people remember him. And he was pushing 400. So, you got some depth in there. And, then the edge, Princey Umanmielen, is the guy who I think is poised for the real breakout season. And he's moved to the rush edge. And I think he's a very talented player who really got in shape. And he looks phenomenal right now physically. Well, and I think this defense, they're going to put him in position to succeed. The big blow is Justice Boone blew out his knee in the first scrimmage a few weeks back. Now, I wasn't sitting here thinking Justice Boone, the strong tight end, was going to be some huge factor in this season. But, you know, it's one of those things, once they're gone, you know what you're missing. It's like, oh, now they're moving Tyreek Sapp from tackle to end, which he might have played in high school, but he's a 271 or whatever listed end. He seems to be more of a bull rush kind of straight line guy. And you got to move a little more laterally and stuff on the edge. So we'll see. That's going to be something to watch on Thursday night for sure, what they do on that side. Behind them, there's some real talented young players. Cameron James, Orlando's kid, looks incredible. I mean, long, really good get off. But is he ready? Kelby Collins is one of the top recruits, Alabama kid. Again, is he ready? I don't know. I mean, both of them are going to get their opportunity.
Edgar, thanks for your time. Safe travels. We'll talk again soon.
Guys, appreciate you having me, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Thompson covers the Gators for the Orlando Sentinel. You can follow him on X at OS Gators. OS Gators. Kind of went through the depth chart on us. He's never done that before.
Nope. But it is game one.
Yeah.
It's game one. We asked specific questions about both sides of the ball. He got into it.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. They replaced so much of their offensive line, David. It was a good offensive line. They got a lot of transfers. How cohesive is that group? I mean, there's just so many new players on this team. And one of the things when you go to the portal that you're going to find out, Utah doesn't go to the portal quite as heavily as Florida did.
Well, and also Utah genuinely has an older team also. And the Gators clearly, if you listen to Edgar there, have a young, inexperienced team. So going to have a center making his first ever college start. You got the quarterback who's making his first Gators start. You've got key losses on the defense injury-wise being replaced by inexperienced guys. The very first thing Edgar said was, this is not the ideal opener. And that's why I'm surprised. And I understand Utah's quarterback may not even play, but I am surprised the line is less than 7.
Well, that's the reason. It's all on the Utah quarterback.
Whew. It's still a tall ask for the Gators here.
And
really
Utah
is.
had a good offensive line last year. Their head coach thinks it's a much better unit this year. So you know what Utah wants to do. They want to pound you. So the Florida Gator defense is going to be tested in this game. We're going to find out a lot. And what you alluded to earlier in the show is how much of this young depth do they start playing? And Edgar alluded to the same things. These guys look good. Are they ready? Well, we may find out sooner than later this year.
And I don't think they'll be ready for Utah in 48 hours. But, Mark, to me, the key to the season, week 3, home for Tennessee. Week 5, home for Kentucky.
At Kentucky.
Oh, they're at Kentucky?
At Kentucky.
My bad. But week 3,
I'm with you there because
home for Tennessee. That's the game I have circled. Just like you have Canes hosting A&M circled as a huge game for Miami, Gators hosting Tennessee. You know, was the last time Tennessee won in the Swamp? 20 years ago. That's, you know, I know Tennessee's going to be favored and all that, but that's maybe these young guys that get a couple games of experience, to get the center back, get the quarterback comfortable. That's the game I got circled that Florida's got to be ready for.
the receivers are young as well. I mean, outside of Pearsall, there's not a lot of depth there. It is going to be interesting, to say the very least, because there's, I mean, what's the floor for the Gators? 5? I mean, the ceiling could be 8. I don't think it's much more than that.
Well, think about it. Utah, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, all on the schedule. I mean, that's 4 teams ranked in the top 15. Never mind the rest of the SEC. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Pat.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite standard question.
I know. I
was really hoping to listen to Knoxville, Tennessee radio this morning to see their thoughts on Florida Gators. We've been buying more players than you've been buying. We intend to harm you.
Hey, free agencies in both footballs now, Pat.
Yep.
And double free
Actually,
agency.
theirs is worse than ours.
Yeah, because they got to buy the recruits and then they got to buy the transfers. They got to do it twice.
Yep.
At least in the NFL, you just draft your players.
Pat, I disagree. There's no cap.
Yeah, there's no cap. That's what makes it worse in college.
That's what makes it better. That's what makes it easier.
There's young Jerry Jones is in college out there. Imagine Jerry without a cap, George Steinbrenner.
Still don't know if he would have won, though.
No, he can't win. He's already screwed up his team this year. The team loved the quarterback they just dumped.
Will Greer?
Did you see how they played for him the other night? They knew he was getting screwed. Now they got a guy that couldn't beat out Sam Darnold, and the media is saying he's Dak's replacement. That's a joke. They just can't bring themselves to continuity. It's ridiculous there. Sucker punch. Ba-da-ba-da-bum. So, did you get another city? That's what I'm interested in hearing.
I was told by somebody if it's a marathon, we're at the 25-mile mark. So we're getting there.
Good. What cities are left that you're targeting? Oh, by the way, how's the hurricane looking for you there, David?
The good sideswipe won't get hit by a hurricane.
How about us, Mark?
Nothing. Should be fine.
Good.
The last 12 hours have been good, Pat. It's moving much further north. Our Lake City audience is going to get hit pretty hard, though.
$15 seconds.
Felipe, how are you?
Good, Pat. How are you, man?
I am doing well.
Good to hear, man.
Yes. I hope everything that you cheer for this year comes true.
Yeah, hopefully.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton along the network in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The Diamond District bonus hour awaits in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us. He of NFL Radio, afternoon drive show called Moving the Chains with his co-host Jim Miller. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. They've got the Super Bowl this year in Vegas. Pat joining us, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. The camp tour is over. The cuts are a big day today. We're going to land up with lots and lots of guys, over 600 total when you add it all up. But 512 are going to practice squads. And of those 512, which is really interesting to guys that have to keep a little bit of an emergency list together, 192 are going to be veterans. I mean, that's where they're going to be really logging where people are, who's in shape. And I'm not talking about this weekend. I'm talking about 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now. That 192 veteran thing is a real lifesaver for the pro personnel directors.
All right, let's talk Jonathan Taylor. You said last time we talked that, well, his value wasn't that good. They wouldn't get what they wanted, and they were just going to prove that. Now it looks as if there's a couple of teams. Do you think the Colts actually want to trade him? Because it seems as if the Dolphins have put a pretty good offer on the table for Taylor. It almost looks to us as if maybe the Colts don't want to move him.
Well, if I was running the Colts, and I'm certainly not, I'd be scared to death to leave Richardson out there without Jonathan Taylor. The last thing you need to do is put that kid on an island and make this about him. It should be about the running game, and he's the complement to it. We can't be asking that kid to do all this stuff. To me, if you take that guy away from the equation, you are really making Richardson vulnerable. So I would never do it.
I wonder then if the Dolphins could include like a Mostert in the trade, somebody like that, where in theory the Colts could get a top 2 running back in their rotation back. Because, Pat, I agree with you. First off, they hired an offense coordinator. We know the offense that he wants to run. He's just run it the last 2 years in Philly. He needs a running game to go with the running quarterback.
Yep. So if the compensation is significant and you throw in Mostert on top of it, then I would start listening. But you need the replacement part. And I would not stop there. after I got Mostert in the fold, then I'd go get Lenny Fournette or someone else. I'd have a couple of them. But my goal would be to protect Richardson, because when they put him on the field, can you trust the owner to turn on the kid? How long can he keep saying, "Oh, he's our guy"? He put him on the field too early. And if you told me you're getting Mostert, and I had enough in my budget to get another back to go along with that, maybe I'd do it.
Did Jerry owe Dak any explanation or heads up that he was bringing in Trey Lance? I think it's laughable that people are talking about it. I would never consult my quarterback to bring in a third string guy, but maybe I'm off base here, Pat.
No, I'm with you 100%. And he doesn't have to talk to Dak. And Dak's contract says Dak's not going anywhere anyway. That's his job security. They're not going to release him or send him anywhere. The cap crushing would be. And by the way, this is what I've said all day yesterday. Who's threatened by a quarterback who was going to be fourth string? And that's really what was going on there. He wasn't even going to be as good as Allen. So, no, a guy like Dak Prescott, you may not love him, but he's a real starter in this league. He would not look at that as a threat. And his job is not even to be nice to him. His job is to keep winning games. But Jerry, I watched every play of that last game. The guys played for Will Grier. I'll ask you two a question. At this moment, is Will Grier better than Trey Lance?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, especially in that system, which he's been in now for the last 3 years. I mean, he knows that offense. And so, yes, in an emergency, oh my goodness, the third string quarterback has to go into the game and get the horse into the barn. For 2023, if I were the Cowboys, I'd rather it be Will Grier than Trey Lance.
Yeah, and for 2024, probably as well for me. Trey Lance, has he done one thing that you can point at and say, that's why they took him in the first round?
No.
Nice kid, run around athlete, not a lot of experience. And when given, but God knows they wanted him to succeed in San Francisco. You give away that much compensation and can't get him on the field, that's a bad sign.
Dallas is seemingly getting good reviews for this trade. And it also interests me, if reports are to be believed, Pat, that Baltimore, Buffalo, Detroit, that good teams, if you will, or teams expected to be good, were the ones that called San Francisco about Trey Lance. I would have thought it would have been Atlanta, maybe Minnesota, because after this year they have an unsettled quarterback situation. I'm surprised good teams with settled quarterback situations were the ones that called San Francisco. Were you surprised it was the Cowboys?
I wasn't surprised that any of those teams you say called. They don't need a starter. They're taking a flyer on a guy to find out, is he the next Josh Rosen? When you started thinking about, well, what about the teams like Atlanta? Why won't they call? Because they know that guy's not a starter, and now you're going to put him into the equation to be a starter? No, the teams that were interested all have a starter, and they were trying to get him for a 6th or a 7th round pick. Only Dallas threw a 4th at him. I think even San Francisco kind of admitted they were surprised they got a 4th.
Pat, are the phones active today, or was yesterday really the big day for people to try to move players before cut day? How busy are GMs today?
Yeah, I know there's a couple of guys that I've talked to that I know one who's pounding the pavement for a linebacker. I know one looking for a defensive tackle, and they're willing to trade. Both groups are. We'll see if they can get something done. So yes, I think there's still a chance for that stuff. And by the way, while all that's going on, we have the reality of we already have 98 guys on injury reserve. So you'll see that'll go up to 150 by the end of the day. And so you're sitting there, you're waiting for your doctor, and now he goes, hey, we got to put the guy down. Boom. Now you got a bigger problem. So those things are going on. We have 4 on PUP, so that's not much. 13 on suspensions, but it's the 98 guys that are already on injured reserve and soon to bloom into more than that. And that's going to cause people to have to go do something.
So Cleveland decides to move on from their kicker, and they don't bring in Robbie Gould. They take the 2nd string with the LA Chargers and give up a draft pick for it.
I'm shocked by that. And when I got done with Cleveland, I remember coming on the show, so they need to get Robbie Gould then. But here's one that's better, David. At least they got a guy who can put on a shoe and hit a ball. Tell me what Tennessee's doing. They don't have a kicker on the roster.
Well, it's okay. The Niners have 2 kickers on the roster. Neither one of them they think will be healthy for week 1.
At least you got a kicker in a room. There's nobody in the room. That I had a Tennessee guy call yesterday and go, "Can you help us?" I go, "What are you looking for?" He goes, "Anyone who can kick a ball." I said, "Even a bad kicker?" He goes, "We don't have a kicker." They're getting nervous.
Isn't Mason Crosby spending the offseason in Nashville? He put a video out the other day of him kicking like 50-yard field goals.
If I was him, I'd go over to there's a big field next to that facility. I'd start bombing balls right into the field.
Pat, Arizona
Where's
is
my phone number on it, Mark?
Exactly. There you go. There you go. Arizona is taking tanking to a new level, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not waiting. You know, they can't afford to have anyone that could win a game. They're not going to screw up this first pick thing. And I feel bad for the guy who scores a touchdown. He may never play again.
But they can't. I mean, Pat, how are they moving on from Kyler Murray? There's too much money associated with that contract, isn't there?
Yeah, that's a disaster. But that head coach and that GM aren't the one who gave him that contract. So even if they had to suck it up for a year or two, that doesn't mean they have to, take the financial beating. They might have Kyler Murray just stand on the sideline and let the USC guy play. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they are moving on.
He's Pat Kirwan, SiriusXM's NFL Radio. Moving the Chains is the afternoon drive show. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us courtesy of Pinchers. The NFL is a funny thing. Who values certain guys? Like, you would think one of the last teams in the world, Pat, you would call to acquire an offensive lineman would be the Miami Dolphins. And so the Bears cut Alex Leatherwood yesterday, a former first-round pick who was starting, I think, most of the preseason. Yes. And they give a 6th-round pick to the Dolphins for backup interior lineman Dan Feeney. Let me tell you something. If you can't start at guard for the Dolphins, I don't know how good you are. And the Bears gave up a pick for a backup Dolphins guard?
There's a lot of questions over there in Chicago about what's going on. I knew Feeney a little bit when he was with the Jets, and we had him on the show a couple of times. Good guy. I think he can play center as well. What do they do in Chicago every time they have a waterline break, if you will, in the offensive line? They move Cody Whitehair right to the spot where the problem is. Tackle, guard, center. He's the center, but they keep moving him around because he's the only one they trust. And so they might need to get another center in there. But I look, Alex Leatherwood, so far, not good. And this was a phenomenal college player, and everyone had high hopes for him. So he's going to get another chance. We know that. There's not enough linemen around anyway. So, it doesn't make much sense. But I can't justify what the Bears are doing.
Is there someone right now that's making moves that you like? I mean, from the standpoint of these little small personnel moves that you're seeing, Pat, is there anything, or is that something you'll wait till the end of the day and see who picks up what's left on the trash pile, if you will?
Yeah, and so to get to the practice squad, as you guys know and your listeners know, they're going to have to clear waivers and all that business. So let's see who claims somebody. I know a couple guys are holding their breath. They're trying to sneak a few guys through, and that's really hard to do. I recommended to one guy. I said I wouldn't do that. People know about him. So I think that makes today intriguing and tomorrow intriguing as well.
4:00 today is cut down day, but there are a lot of people in the league that think that really cut down day and time is next Tuesday at 4:00 because so many guys are going to be made available. And as Pat just referenced, trying to sneak certain guys through that they want to sign to their practice squad. But about 8 hours or so is cut down day and time in the NFL. More with Pat Kirwan on the other side. Where else but here on Miller and Moulton and the Florida Sports Network.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Florida.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat.
Yes.
Earlier we were talking about if there are any current running backs in the NFL who, if their careers ended today, are Hall of Famers or are tracking to be Hall of Famers.
No, our Hall of Famer, Derrick Henry. That's it.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah, they'll make a case for Zeke somewhere along the line.
What?
Sorry, I didn't know you hated the Cowboys that much.
I mean, he's regressed every year of his career.
A lot of running backs regress as time goes on.
I mean, yeah, but you'd make a case for Zeke over McCaffrey?
He's another guy that might make it. They got to stay healthy. That's the biggest problem with all of that.
And they never do.
No, you know, they're going to, I think as time goes on with McCaffrey, he'll be outside a lot more. I thought when he was drafted, he was going to, and the guys down in Carolina told me they thought he was going to be a slot receiver. And they didn't think he'd hold up running the ball inside, but he has. But I think he could put up numbers if he can stay healthy for another. And he's in a system where that crazy head coach is, you know, if they don't fire the head coach down the road here for Trey Lance, he has big ideas. Tim Ryan, my old partner, is the voice of that team. I was with Tim the other day, and he said that Kyle is just like got a million more ideas for McCaffrey. But here's the other thing I'd say. Maybe this is the right subject. Are any running backs going to go to the Hall of Fame the way we treat running backs?
Well, there you go.
You know, it's just, it's just
Pat,
a crazy reality.
You have the opposite going on. You know, the wide receivers are all putting up such gaudy numbers. You wonder how difficult will it be for future wide receivers to get in the Hall of Fame, because you can't just say, look at my numbers. It's going to be like, yeah, everybody's got numbers. But then with the running backs, they can't post the numbers
right
to get in the Hall of Fame because their, you know, careers cut short or they're not enough carries. And, you know, like I don't think Terrell Davis, right. Like I don't think Terrell Davis is a Hall of Famer. But 10 years from now, you know, rushing for about 8,000 yards, you're going to go, those are Hall of Fame numbers. When it used to be, you had to have 10,000 to even get consideration.
Right. And then when it's time to vote and you're in a room and it's not by position, it's by
right.
Then all of a sudden they're up against some really tough stuff. And
like Yinzer in our Twitch chat room makes the point. Think about how much better every year Roger Craig and Ricky Waters' careers look.
Yeah. So I think it's the politics of it all is going to change who you vote for. And, I could see tight ends getting a little bit of a flurry, guys like Mark Andrews, because they're putting up numbers that tight ends didn't put up.
Right.
So I think you look at all those things. I was looking yesterday about the rookie starters, and it's interesting. If the first game was right now, we'd have 41 rookies starting. So, what's important about that number? First off, the number one position of starters for the rookie class is cornerback. There's 11 of them. But the reason I bring it up is, and this is a really interesting question to you guys, it usually is about 30 on opening day, 30 rookies start. Now, why is it at 41? Was it a great year in the draft, or were these the guys that stayed in school an extra year or two because of COVID and they're more mature? I don't have an answer to that, but I am going to start bringing it up on the air and just see what people think.
I also think it's the last 2-3 years with the pandemic and the cap didn't go up the way that GMs thought. And I still think there's a bit of a cap crunch in the NFL and they're having to put cheaper guys in sooner.
Yeah.
Now I think beginning next year, I think, when the cap's going up 20+ million a year, I think that's going to alleviate a little bit, but.
Yeah, I like to track that stuff. And it's funny, like.
All right, coming on.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. You can listen to him and his co-host Jim Miller weekday afternoons 3 to 7. And I think they start doing their Saturday show soon as well with the season getting underway. Pat's also part of CBS's NFL Today show, which basically means he works 7 days a week right on through the Super Bowl. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and a lot of points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
Pat, we were talking during the break. You are starting your investigations on rookies in the league, and it was too good information not to share with the rest of our audience just about how many rookies are playing this year, and you're not exactly sure why.
Yeah, well, there's a lot are going to play, but how many are going to start opening day? So I always track that, done for 20 years, and it looks like we'll have 40. And I don't like to use default starters, like he's playing because the starter went down and they have to put him in. Not that. This guy's legitimately going to start. So 41 right now, it looks like. What's interesting about that to me is that most years it's at 30. And then I posed a question to some of the listeners yesterday and to some of the guys in the league. Is it because guys stayed in school the extra year or two because of COVID? They got a clearance to play a 4th year, a 5th year. Some guys stayed a 6th year. Are they coming out more mature and they're ready to handle this? But then I also like to look at positions. Cornerback's the number one position. We're going to have rookie starters, 11 of them, maybe more when it's all said and done. And wide receivers is second with 8. It's I like to track it, and I like to track what rounds. How's this? 20 first rounders should start, 15 second rounders, and then watch this drop off. 2 third rounders, no 4th rounders, no 5th rounders. And the 6th round sitting there with 4 of them. So, boy, when people say trade down, we hear that all the time. I got to keep this information for when I'm doing the draft. Trade down, really? Trade down for what? Between the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, we're going to get 2 starters out of it.
Well, 3 of the rookies are quarterbacks. The guys taking 1, 2, and 4. They're getting thrown right into the deep end.
Yeah.
Now, you've been pretty clear you don't like the Colts throwing Richardson into the deep end. We laughed when he was named the starter, and he said, quote, "I was shocked." We took that to be not a good sign. If the guy given the promotion was shocked that he got the promotion, that tells us he's not ready for the promotion. But what Carolina and Houston are doing with Young and Stroud, do you like one more than the other to start?
Well, I think we all know the second they start, we're evaluating them. And by week 6 or 7, if we've had 4 bad experiences, we're going to start thinking the guy's not very good. There's plenty of history of these guys, falling apart. There's a lot of psychological pressure too. And they're just not just the quarterback, they're the leader of the team, et cetera. And then the supporting cast around him. The offensive line, is that going to be good enough in Carolina to protect this kid? So the kid in Houston at least is physical, and he can probably withstand more. We've had that discussion. But I think all 3 guys are on bad teams, and they shouldn't be blamed for all the problems that are going to surface, but they are going to get blamed. We see it all the time.
CJ Stroud lost a couple players on defense, which doesn't really help him all that much, but you and I both liked him a little bit more. But Pat, with the moves they made, cutting a couple of big defensive players, I mean, it almost seems like they're, I don't want to say cashing this year in, but they've helped him on the offensive line. But were you at all surprised by those cuts yesterday?
They're the team that we followed. The 3 of us have followed them, and they were like doing a lot of 1-year contracts, right? For 2 or 3 years, Nick was just signing veterans on 1-year deals, and a couple of them got a second year, but that roster was always vulnerable to that. Now, they also have 7 guys on IR already, 7. So you put the cuts next to the reality of injured reserve already, and you got a team that's probably not ready to do much. You think Houston's going to be picking in the top 3?
Yes.
You mean
top 5?
Yeah. Does that mean Arizona's picking twice? Yeah.
Well, exactly. Exactly. I mean, Arizona's, I think, loving what Houston is doing. Heck, I mean, who knows? Maybe they end up with the 1 and 2. Has a team ever had both picks 1 and 2 before? I think, Arizona's at least got a chance for that. Hey, Derek Barnett being given permission to seek a trade. He's 27, first-round pick from 6 years ago. And I would say he's underachieved a little bit from what expectations were. But, there are so many teams, Pat, looking for some help along the defensive line. I mean, and good teams too. I mean, the first team I thought of was Baltimore. I'm like, oh, come on. You got to go get Derek Barnett, don't you?
I think so. I think if they're realistic about what they can get for him, they be able to get and move him. There are a lot of teams on my camp tour. Pass rushers, defensive ends, they're hard to find. And you could get something for him. Baltimore probably took themselves out of the mix by just putting Clowney in the mix. But it's a good point about those guys. And there's other teams. There's no rush here. In my mind, if we lose a major defense, God forbid, Myles Garrett went down, they'd be calling in 2 seconds.
Are you worried about Brock Purdy?
Yes. On 2 levels. Number one, I don't think he's 100% ready. I don't think he's going to be for a while. Jim Miller's been saying this since last year. Don't have the minor surgery, which is what he had. He thought he should take the full reconstruction and like the Tommy John and stay out for a year because throwing a football is going to be his livelihood. And now he's rushed back. He didn't look like he was throwing that well. And the other part of it is I like the kid a lot. But do you think the defenses, Pete Carroll for starters, up there in Seattle, a division opponent, you think they're sitting around going, oh, my God, we got to play Brock Purdy? They're studying how to go after this guy. A lot of times the second year is way harder than the first year. He came on and impressed everybody, but the defensive guys around the league are going to start sharing ideas about what to do about him.
All right, we got a couple of minutes here, but I want you to get into the Bears' backup quarterback looks like is going to be D2's Tyson. Is it Badgett?
Badgett, yes.
Yeah, you saw him at the Senior Bowl. You were talking him up. You thought he should have been drafted. He was undrafted. But this guy, if he ends up playing, this is going to be, another Brock Purdy type story. Pat, what is happening at the quarterback position where guys in the past who literally would struggle to get jobs with spring leagues seemingly can play on Sundays.
Well, Tyson, first off, when you meet the guy, you feel like you're talking to Purdy in a sense. He has got a little ice water in his veins. He didn't go to a big school, but he didn't care. He threw a lot of touchdowns in college, and he threw a lot of passes in college. And he's a guy that he doesn't think of himself as a guy that can't do it. So his confidence is incredibly impressive, to say the least.
And you would not have a problem. I mean, right now, he is the backup to Justin Fields.
Yeah, I would not have a problem playing him. It doesn't mean he's going to succeed, but I know what I'd send out. I'd send a kid out there that he'd go in the huddle and his teammates think he's pretty good. That's what Purdy did, and that's what Tyson's going to do. They've already been in the huddle with him. They know that this guy can operate. And, I was pounding the table for that guy at the Senior Bowl, and Nagy said to me, he goes, he couldn't believe no one drafted him. After a year with Purdy, to have that kid go down there and do what he did, it was like shocking to me, but, good for Chicago. I think Getzi, one of those guys, coached him at the Senior Bowl, and they said, hey, why don't we just sign the kid? And the rest is history here.
Well, we'll see who Colt McCoy ends up with. There are a lot of teams who need backup quarterbacks. One would think that Colt will get a job in the next 24 hours. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, enjoy Cut Down Day.
Oh, of course I will. I mean, it's a very bizarre thing to enjoy Cut Down Day, but I'm going to do it. Let's have a party tonight.
Perfect.
See you guys.
Teams got to get from 90 to 53, but then in the 24 or so hours afterwards, they can sign 16 of them back on the practice squad. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, the models are calling for Jacksonville to get a direct hit from this thing, but by the time it gets here, it'll be a borderline hurricane. But so Wednesday
Thursday or
afternoon,
Wednesday night?
Wednesday.
Okay.
The center of the storm is supposed to be right at landfall at like 8 a.m. this time tomorrow. So figure by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the eye should be like right over us. So is this it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your guys'
No,
call.
no. I definitely no. We're you
just re-rack the 7.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
And this way it makes it easiest. Felipe, you got the play of the day ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get into the Ryder Cup a little bit. Let's a recap and do a little who would you pick?
All right.
Do that first, then the play of the day, because I got to send it over to the. I have it, but I have to put it in the computer.
Okay. Nice pitching matchup tonight. Savali against Alcantara. I'll be fired up for that. My exciting life.
It's the only thing about cutting the cord is I lost my Marlins and Rays.
Do you have a way to scurry and find them? Ooh,
Working on it.
You gonna be able to watch hockey?
ESPN Plus.
Gotcha.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. So 6 or so hours from now, 3 in the afternoon, I believe Eastern, 2 Central. The PGA's of America's headquarters, I believe, are in Dallas, and that's where Zach Johnson, the U.S. Ryder Cup captain, is going to announce his captain's picks. There was a report out yesterday, Mark, I believe overseas, that said 5 of the 6 have already been agreed upon. Koepka, Spieth, JT,
Morikawa.
Fowler, and Morikawa.
Right.
And that there's 4 guys being considered for the final spot. Keegan Bradley's one, Finau's one, which I find laughable if that's true. And Sam Burns, and I forget who the other one is.
Cameron Young.
But think about that. Finau's being considered and not Lucas Glover. Finau's got like one top 30 in 6 months. And Lucas Glover's not being considered. He's ahead of Finau in the standings. He's got 2 wins, the top 15 at the Tour Championship.
And he's playing well right now.
Right.
He's coming into it playing the best golf of his life. He's not getting picked, by the way. It would be a great story. Would love to see Lucas Glover on the team. He's not getting picked.
Okay. Hank Haney sent out a, can we still call it a tweet? I mean, I'll refer to it as X, but what do we call it?
Well, someone, and I think it was Mark Lai, actually, who said, what about a Twix? Like the candy bar.
Ooh, look at the way to go. Mark, let it fly, lie. All right. I like it. So Hank Haney sent out a Twix.
Attaway.
Emphasis,
Attaway, David.
Emphasis, by the way, big X at the end, right? That would be cool, actually, if they did it. TWI capital X. That'd be cool. Hope Lai can get some residuals from that. So Haney sent out whatever it is we're calling it. And he said, these are the 6 that I would pick. And he did not have Fowler on it, and he did not have JT on it. All right. He went with Koepka, and he went with Spieth, and he went with Morikawa. He would have put Lucas Glover on the team. He would have. You're Zach Johnson. And by the way, congratulations. You're a 2-time major champion. But you're Zach Johnson, Mark. Who are the 6 guys that you're picking? Not that you think he'll pick, just who are your 6?
Koepka, Morikawa, Cam Young, Jordan Spieth, Lucas Glover, and Keegan Bradley.
Interesting. I like it. I am not a Keegan Bradley fan. I absolutely would put Keegan Bradley on the Ryder Cup team. His driving stats are outstanding. His putting stats are outstanding. The U.S. doesn't make nearly enough putts in the Ryder Cup. And by the way, if you can drive it and you can putt it, you sound like you'd be a hell of an alternate shot guy to have. And that's usually where we get beaten like a drum when we do lose.
Now, Justin Thomas has a 6-2-1 Ryder Cup record.
Yes,
but
he
in
does.
2023, in 20 starts, 3 top 10s. 3 top 10s. He has not played well. He is not deserving, in my opinion, of a captain's pick based on the way he's playing golf right now. But a lot of thought has been because he and Spieth are such good buddies and they're a good team that if you're going to take Spieth, you're taking JT and you pair them together. It's a lot of pressure on the two of them.
I would select Koepka, Spieth, Morikawa, Keegan Bradley for sure. That's my 4. I'd pick DJ. I would. Sorry. If you're going to put Justin Thomas on because of his 6-2-1 past Ryder Cup record, well, the last time we played this little soiree, DJ went 5-0. DJ and Koepka are buds, tight buds. They've made a really good team together. They love playing together. By the way, everybody on the team likes DJ. They like him more than they like Koepka. I actually think bringing DJ on board, first off, you know who you're going to pair with Koepka, so we don't have to worry about that if that's an issue at all. And secondly, everybody on the team likes him. And it doesn't matter to DJ if they're playing in South Carolina or Italy.
He doesn't know the difference.
I knew if I talked about DJ long enough, you could make fun of him at some point. So, but I'm torn as to the last one. I got to have guys, I got to pick a guy who can make putts. So, are we going Cam Young? Are we going Sam Burns? Okay, I'd be tempted to go with the hot hand, Lucas Glover, but then I'm leaving Ricky Fowler. I'm not putting JT on the team. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Finau and JT have played their way off my team. Now, I know DJ's not getting picked. I know that. Mark and I both know that it looks like Keegan Bradley's not being picked. But
it is a tremendous amount of pressure on Justin Thomas.
they now have 6 captain's picks. Used to be what? 2, then it was 3, then it was 4, now it's 6. I wrote down 4 of your choices. Did you have Ricky on the team?
No. I did not. I had Koepka, Spieth, Morikawa, Cam Young, Lucas Glover, and Keegan Bradley.
I will say, I might put Ricky on the team thinking I'm going to pair him with Spieth.
Well, then who you playing? Oh, okay, so you're not taking JT. You're putting Fowler there.
No. JT and Finau are done for me. They played horribly this year. Horribly. For goodness sakes, Justin Thomas had 2 rounds in the 80s in majors this year. In the 80s. No, sorry. You got to play better, dude. Listen, she qualified. The Solheim Cup has a crazy formula. There's like 3 different ways you can get on the team, and one of them is by where you are in the rankings. They get like 2 automatic spots for the rankings, and so Lexi Thompson got in automatically. She's like 120th on the money list this year. She's going to lose her LPGA card, and yet she made the Solheim Cup team. If I was the captain of the Solheim Cup team, if she hadn't qualified by some messed up formula, I never would have put her on the team. She isn't playing worth a darn. To me, it's the same with JT and Finau. Sorry. I mean, Justin Thomas is going to the World Golf Hall of Fame. I get it. Not this year, he's not. By the way, Europe doesn't solidify their team until after Labor Day, or I don't know, this Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday coming up. Something like that. But they're waiting one more tournament. I don't know. And they can't put anybody from LIV on their team. They're banned. They're banned over there. They're not banned over here. Difference between the DP World Tour and the PGA of America.
Makes 0 sense for the Euros, and there was a lot of lobbying to bring some of those guys on, but it was to no avail. Time now. We've moved some things around today. We had Edgar Thompson on. We had Mike Clay on, so therefore we now can fit in the play of the day. Felipe, what do you have for us?
Astros at Red Sox. Altuve, double in the second. Actually, no, double in the third, single in the fifth, triple in the sixth, and in the eighth.
And Altuve sends one high, sends one deep, sends one into the Boston night. 13-4. Hit number 4 for Jose Altuve, and he hits for the cycle.
Jose Altuve with his first cycle of his career. The Astros crush the Red Sox 13-5. I always laugh when a guy like, well, specifically Jose Altuve, because I can't think of any other 5'5", 5'6" on a good day guys who hit the ball as hard as he does. I mean, that home run was deep left center field out of the stadium over the monster. Jose Altuve, one of the better hitters of this generation.
Without question. He's going to get serious Hall of Fame consideration. He's already over 2,000 hits. He's 33 years old. He averages more than a hit a game in his career.
And
how many more years do you think he'll play? You know, his birthday's in May. So, you know, he'll play this year at 33. Next year, he won't start at 34, but a month into the season, he is 34. So when you think of him, he'll be playing at 34, 5, 6 going forward. Like, Mark, I feel pretty confident he'll 25 hits, no problem. And I'd even be willing, if you did the over-under at 2,700 hits, I'd go over. But can he get to 3,000?
I mean, he's 33. He's got time.
He'd have to be DHing for the last 4 years of that. And
he's got to stay healthy, which he hasn't really done this year all too much.
Well, he hasn't done it the last couple. The first 8 years of his career, he was a 150-plus game guy. Last handful of years, he's been more of a 130 game guy. So let's going forward assume he's going to miss a month every year. He's going to miss 30 games. If he's averaging more than a hit a game, put him down for about 150 hits a year. That's 6 more years. It's getting close to 40.
And that's asking a lot. And again, that means he's DHing.
Right.
For 37, 38, 39, and 40. And you can't imagine that the power will still be there at that point. And
also, when you look at Jose Altuve, are you going to make him your DH? You usually think of somebody who's going to produce 20 more home runs at that position. So if he can't play, he's probably got 3 more years where he can play the field. I mean, can they hide him at third for a year? I don't know. But because, let's face it, we have no idea if we'll ever see a 300-game winner again. Verlander might be our last shot, right? And, hey, how many guys now are going to, get to 3,000? It's a lot of hits. Man, it's a lot of hits.
He's got a pretty impressive resume, though.
There's no doubt.
And, of course, he's got the stain of being a part of the 2017 Astros. And is that the equivalent of being a steroid player? I mean, Mark, your gut feeling, if he got to 3,000, do you think being on a team that cheated would cost him the Hall of Fame?
Cost him the Hall of Fame at 3,000? No. But I do think at 2,500 it could cost him the Hall of Fame, if you know what I mean. I believe that people are going to question hits, home runs. Some of the stats are being questioned because he was a cheater. There's just no two ways about it.
He's got gaudy postseason numbers, too, and people are going to go, well, how much of that was?
Thank you.
Right.
I hate that I'm doing this, but did they not win last year?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, in theory, they haven't cheated for 6 seasons now. Absolutely. He could, if somebody goes, I'm not going to vote for you because you cheated. He could look at him and go, you do know from the moment that, quote unquote, I cheated, I've had over 1,000 hits, blah, blah, blah. There's no doubt.
Flash's 2022 ring.
Well, yeah. A lot of people say Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he started taking steroids, too. He's not in the Hall of Fame, okay?
Right.
I'm just, that stain, in that sport, cheating, no matter how you do it, no matter what way you do it.
I mean, Felipe, they won't put Kurt Schilling in because they think he's a jerk and they don't like his politics. You don't think they're going to hold it against a guy because he cheated? Now, they're totally wrong about Schilling. He should have been in years ago, but it's a fickle group, Mark. Is that fair to say?
They are something. The Baseball Writers Association is a fickle group, is about one of the nicer things ever said about him, David.
I will say, speaking of baseball, because both the Marlins and Rays had off last night, they're playing a little 2-gamer in Miami. Savale against Alcantara tonight. And obviously, big games for both. The Rays are 2.5 back of the Orioles, and the Marlins are, 3 back of the final playoff spot in the National League, and they got, 3-4 teams now they got to leapfrog?
Marlins are at a point where they can't lose many more series.
No. And they still have a tough schedule. A couple of soft spots left, but they got some big boys they still got to play. Dodgers, Braves, Phillies. Yeah, they got some games left still.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out a way to win a couple of those series, and that's not an easy task to do when you're playing against teams like the Dodgers, the Braves, and the Phillies right now. The Phillies who have it going on pretty well as well.
Marlins, I think, have a good final week. I think it's like Nats and Pirates, although the Nats are playing a lot better. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Where else but the Florida Sports Network?
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, Wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been